How's it going, guys? My name is Jordan, and I'm outside right now because I'm about to show you two bikes that I'm going to be using for a project that I just decided to start. I found myself a really cheap full suspension bike. The guy wanted $50 for it because the rear derailleur just exploded. There's a lot of other issues. It's a Walmart bike, and with all Walmart bikes, it has plenty of issues going on. But I plan to use my $300 bike, the Narco Storm 7.3 that I showed you in some other videos, to kind of Frankenstein together a half decent bike. And if it works well enough, then I'll actually put some money into the bike. The main reason for that is because any of the parts that I put into this new bike, I can go and use those on my older bike, which is a better bike. So if this fails, it's not really a big deal because any of the money spent will go into my good bike and I'll just keep using it. But I'm sure plenty of you have wondered if you can upgrade these Walmart bikes, and if so, is it even worth it? With any luck, I'll be able to do all of this for less than $750. And that won't make it a good full suspension bike, but it will bring it underneath the price of kind of any of the entry-level full suspension. So right now I'll go ahead and just give you an overview of the two bikes and show you my ideas. Alright guys, so here is the bike that I just picked up. It's a Huffy Carnage 3.0. Like I said, it's a Walmart bike. It's 3.0 because it has 3-inch wide tires. It's a plus size bike. I'm going to swap it for this fork. Could potentially still support the 3-inch plus tires. With that said, these tires are terrible. It's a Walmart bike, and so the quality on them just isn't there. I wouldn't trust any kind of weight or impact to them. However, these wheels, they're not as good, but they're not great, but they're definitely better. I plan on using those. Also, these hubs obviously aren't compatible with disc brakes. It comes with the V brakes, but I'm literally just gonna put these tires on them, and they are disc brake, so I can take advantage of that too. This is a 1 1/8 just straight headset, which is the same as this guy. This one is a 0 stack, but it's much taller than this one, which has the external cups, but all said and done, I think this headset's actually shorter, and so I'll definitely be able to use this fork. There is a spacer included here, plus all of these spacers, so those combined, it should be able to make up the difference. The main reason that I'm taking this fork is so that it won't fall apart. With these Walmart bikes, they get so loose over time, they wiggle, and even this one's starting to have some bad symptoms, and it wasn't even ridden very much. So essentially, I'll be using this fork for the stability. It's not a very good suspension fork, but it is nice and stable, just because it's a better one than what that one has. I'll go ahead and just transpose the entire cockpit. So I'll take this, so I'll go ahead and take the handlebars. I'll take everything pretty much off of here, to include the shifters, the brake pedals, or brake levers, everything. Basically from here up is going onto this bike. So that'll solve most of the issues. You can see here, that's obviously a problem, and that's because this right here, the clamp for the handlebars, is only 2 bolts. It's a really just terrible design. They've never been good. And this is the #1 complaint with Walmart bikes. Whenever you see anybody riding these cheap bikes on trails, it's always this that falls apart, and this one's no different. So just by taking this hardware, I'm solving 50% of the problems that are associated with these bikes. And hopefully I'll save a little bit of weight, not only by taking these bigger wheels off, but by getting rid of this cheaper V-brake heavier fork. So right away, lots of problems solved. I'm gonna buy myself a new seat post off of Amazon. I think this is a 27mm. On my bike, it's a 31. If I had to guess, 30, 31. You could look it up, but it is bigger. So, new seat post. That will allow me to take the seat off of my nicer bike. Get rid of this piece of garbage. And then, I'm gonna leave this the standard coil for right now. I just wanna get the bike built and make sure it'll work before I start upgrading parts. But eventually, if my ideas work out and this frame actually holds up, then I'll get myself probably $100, something like that, air shock, maybe like a used Fox float, and that'll help a ton with making this actually a good bike as opposed to a usable bike. Beyond that, the rest of the work is all on the back end of this bike. Lots of problems with the drivetrain on these cheap bikes, and this one's no different. You can see It is a 3-speed, and it has this plastic bash guard. What I'll probably do is might keep these gears. If not, I'll take the front chain rings off of my bike and put them on here. I'll convert it to a 2-speed, get rid of this bash guard, and I'll probably get myself just like a $30 bash guard to put on in place of this gear. And then this cassette is part of this wheel. I'm going to trash the whole thing. This is a 7-speed. My bike has a 8-speed, but it has 32-inch ring on the back, which is nice, on the high side. So it actually has a decent range, which is why I'm going to go ahead and just go with the 2x8. That'll save some of the weight because this bike is very, very heavy. So any weight savings I can get, especially if it's not very expensive, I'm taking advantage of. So with any luck, I'll have an 8-speed cassette back here instead of this 7-speed that'll have a much wider range. 2 speeds up front. I'll use the front mech from my other bike unless this one's usable. I'll have to play with it and see. I might leave it just because it's an experiment, but if not, I'll swap that out. This is where the majority of the damage was. You can see the hanger on this bike is kind of weird. A lot of the Walmart bikes, the hanger is part of the shifter and it's just all incorporated, and then the bike itself doesn't have anything. And with a lot of the cheaper ones, the hanger itself goes beneath this bolt and it kind of hooks around. In this case, it's different. The frame has a hanger, and then any derailleur can go onto it, which is sort of a better system, but the downside is, as you can see, which happened in this case, if you damage that hanger, you're actually damaging the frame. So it bent a little bit. I ordered an index hanger. It's one that's designed to hook around the axle, but then it has a hanger hole for a derailleur. And so I can put that on and essentially ignore this bent part and then just use the nice straight new one. So that's my plan. This derailleur is obviously garbage. I'm going to use the 8-speed derailleur off of my main bike. My brake mounts directly to the frame. It has vertical posts. So I got an adapter that allows me to screw posts onto the side, which will allow me to put the actual calipers on there. So hopefully that works. It might be off, in which case I'll just stick with V-brakes in the back, which would really suck. I'd be kind of bummed out, but hopefully I don't have to worry about it. Beyond that, everything seems okay. This is actually what I was gonna be the most concerned about, but it's actually not damaged in any way. It's dirty and that's it. The welds aren't pretty, but I'm hoping that they're strong enough. This is gonna be what I keep my eye on the entire time I'm doing this project, because if this starts changing in any way, I'm done. That's it. Because this is the only difference between my bike and this bike. It has dual suspension. So if the actual hinge for that is bad, there's no point in even messing with it any farther. However, I'm praying and I'm hoping that this holds out. If it does, then this, again, is actually pretty good. This is a common setup for dual suspension, to have this cantilever as opposed to a direct connection. It's surprising that they went this route with this bike, because I believe this actually ends up adding costs. They could have just mounted the suspension directly to the rear triangle. So the fact that they didn't is interesting, but it's also good for me because I can take advantage of that. I believe this is a 185 millimeter shock, which does mean that I can get pretty standard shocks. There's some chips in the paint and also little bits of rust just running down the frame, which is another concern because the previous owners left it outside. So I'm going to keep this inside, keep it dry. Hopefully that doesn't get any worse. But like I said, I got this whole thing for $50. And I don't know about you, but $50 for what will end up being at least a fun experiment, if nothing else, doesn't seem like a terrible deal to me. So that wraps it up for today. My next video will be all of this front end nonsense. That's the biggest question I have, is how much better it'll get by swapping this out for the front end from the Norco. If I'm really lucky, it'll work out great. It'll be a direct swap. I won't have to do any cutting. It'll just stiffen the whole front end up, solve a lot of the problems. After I deal with that, then I'm going to deal with the back end, because that's going to be the biggest amount of work, I believe. I have this, like I said, the index hanger in the mail, but until that gets here, I may just try to bend this back. I don't really know, just so that I can mount a derailleur and see if it works. Because if that works, I'm going for it. I'm going all the way. If I can't get this set up right, then it's a failed project, and it was just an experiment that I got to show you guys. So keep your eye open. I'm gonna have multiple videos on this whole experiment. It's probably gonna be a 3 or 4 part series. It's gonna take some work, but winter's here. You can probably see my breath through this video. And so that means I won't be riding much anymore. This will be a good thing I can do to keep myself warm, but also set myself up next year. Because if I can get this to be a good bike, then first thing, as soon as spring hits, I'm taking this down some trails, and I'll show you guys the results of what happened. So that's it. That covers it. If you guys have any more questions, suggestions, want to call me an idiot, which you probably should, go ahead and leave a comment. And obviously subscribe if you want to see the rest of this go down and watch me burn in flames so you don't have to. So with all that said, guys, thanks for watching.